Hello, my name is Carlton Herbert, and this is what I put together for ARC502 in Professor Dave Wallanson's section. The site I selected was in Brooklyn, New York, just across the East River from Manhattan Island. It's in close proximity to the Brooklyn Naval Yard, which is a very industrial area. There's a very strong community of makers and artists in the area, and that led me to design a high school that offers opportunities for students to develop technical skills such as machining, welding, and making. I also wanted to integrate some of the principles of Montessori teaching, which focus on individualized learning, student autonomy, cooperative instruction, and fluid learning spaces. The city is currently working on ways to redevelop and revitalize the area, and this school will provide a great opportunity to train students in many of the skills that have been historically integral in the local economy. And I spent some time exploring the site through Google Earth and Google Street View, and I came across several things that provided design inspiration. One of these was the Brooklyn Naval Yard. This shipyard played a very large role historically with connections to World War II and also many shipping efforts. I was inspired by the many steel structures, cranes, and supports that allowed people to work on such massive shipbuilding projects. Another area that provided inspiration was the Brooklyn Naval Memorial Cemetery. This area offers a green space near the site that allows visitors to disconnect from the busy urban life and refocus their attention on the beauty of nature. Along with this green space, there's also a building nearby that has cultivated rooftop gardens where food can be grown in a place where there's no real open land that is available for farming. Many of us are probably familiar with the vintage industrial factory windows I've shown here, and I wanted to incorporate some of these in my design to pay homage to the industrial history of the area. While doing some research on some Montessori school design, I came across several designs by Studio MV, their group of architects that have designed some of the buildings shown here. Several of these designs were actually repurposed warehouses, and I was inspired by the openness of the exposed mechanical systems, the opportunities for classroom observation, and the outdoor connections in urban environments. In order to better understand the project site, I researched the climate in Brooklyn and developed some passive and active strategies to meet comfort standards. With almost constant humidities between 40% and 80%, and wet bulb temperatures averages between 25 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit, I consider this area to be in a fairly cold climate zone. Active heating systems are required to keep the building comfortable, but some passive strategies such as sunshades and natural ventilation could be implemented in the warmer summer months. My process for massing and programming began with some hand sketches where I analyzed a few different shapes, and then I took these shapes and turned them into 3D models and looked at several different ways to fit the programming into the various shapes. Ultimately, I settled on a mostly rectangular form with several voids and extrusion that were inspired by the stacking of shipping containers at the Brooklyn Naval Yard. I incorporated each of the required program spaces and also included an outdoor gathering space, a two-story gallery space, a large open space to place the cafeteria and reading areas, and 3 two-story maker spaces. So you can see here each of the levels and the programming for each of them. Here are the final isometric views of the building on the site. You can see there's some green spaces and pathways to give students a connection to the natural world. There's also a large shade structure that helps separate the outdoor gathering space from the main street level, and to get some separation there, and a couple different window types and patterns in order to try and blend the old with the new. The site is mainly surrounded by commercial buildings, but it does have some good pedestrian access. There's a bus stop nearby and dedicated bike lanes that border the site. It's also very close to the ferry with lots of ferry parking and ferry access, and very close to the East River as well. Students can enter the school through several entries. If they're being dropped off by a vehicle, they enter through the entry on the top of the screen. If they're pedestrians, they can enter through the entry on the bottom of the screen, which offers path through some green space as well as some bicycle storage. The main level features 3 large maker spaces, as well as some faculty spaces, and then several connected learning units that can be opened up to gather large groups of students together for instruction or for events. The second level features a large outdoor gathering space, as well as a gallery space for students to showcase their work to the public and work with local artists. It also offers some observation windows to look into the maker spaces below. The third level features a large cafeteria and common space, as well as some indoor-outdoor learning spaces. Fourth level features a collective reading area, as well as some classrooms I have titled Thinker Spaces. These are meant to be places of collective and cooperative learning, similar to something like an architectural studio. And then the roof level is meant to be accessible to students and features a large rooftop garden and a couple of outdoor learning spaces during periods of warm weather. Also several skylights to provide natural lighting to the floor below. As you can see in these elevations, I designed the outer facade with mostly rectangular patterns, but it is broken up by some contrasting X-bracing patterns as well. And then these overall sections give you a look into some of the variety that exists between the floors with several different types of classrooms and collective spaces. And then I also created several perspective sections, but I think these are some of the best ways to visualize the spaces. This first view gives us a look at one of those thinker spaces, and similar to an architectural studio. The next one here looks at the indoor-outdoor classroom space with planters and greenery on the outdoor balcony. This next one here looks at a typical makerspace with some large spaces for students to create and build. And the next one here looks at the collective cafeteria, common and reading spaces with a 2-story volume that offers great views of the Brooklyn Naval Yard and the New York City skyline across the river. And finally, this one here shows the gallery space and the outdoor gathering space, as well as classrooms below that can be opened up for large gatherings and events. And that outdoor gathering space is meant to provide a connection to the community. The structural system I selected was a steel frame with concrete slabs at each floor and a composite deck structure. I selected this system because steel offers a lot of design flexibility with its balanced strength in both tension and compression. It's also generally cheaper than a full concrete system and can be recycled after the life cycle of the building. The facade system is comprised of ceramic panels acting as a rain screen to keep the building water resistant. It also features some curtain wall systems and perforated steel plates for transparency and wind flow through the outdoor gathering space. My passive design strategy incorporates solar shades to block direct sunlight from the south during the summer, while letting in natural light during the winter at lower sun angles. It also incorporates a rooftop garden with light-colored pavers and ground-level green spaces to reduce the heat island effect. Rainwater collection and filtration is also integrated and is used for the landscaping on site. These green spaces also help with stormwater management with permeable surfaces for the water to recede. Also incorporates some natural ventilation, the operable vents and windows during the warm months. The active HVAC system is required based on the local climate. And I selected a variable air volume system because it's one of the simplest and most economical systems, which still offers some customization between zones. Here's some of the details of the collective space, and then also one of the typical classroom spaces. You see here that I've chosen reddish hues for the ceramic facade in order to resemble some of the rust colors and common in structural steel, and connect the building to the industrial history of the site. And then I wanted to finish by showing several perspective views. Some here of the overall building on the site, just to give a sense of the scale as compared to some of the surrounding buildings. And then here are some of the exterior spaces that are being enjoyed by students and visitors, with views of the second level gathering space, large outdoor green space for recreation, as well as the rooftop garden. And then some of the interior spaces that would give students the opportunity to learn, share, and socialize together. And in conclusion, my design evolved as I considered all the different components that make up a large design project. As each additional design requirement was introduced, I was forced to refocus my priorities and think about how to adapt my current design to work with additional requirements. I'm always amazed by the multitude of moving parts in a design project of this size and how successful architects are able to consider so many factors. Ultimately, I think this school would provide a wonderful learning opportunity for high school students in the Brooklyn area by connecting them with the heritage of makers in their community and offering an alternative learning path for those looking to work with their hands. And again, my name is Carlton Herbert, and I thank you for taking the time to review my design.